Chapter 2, The Heifer, page 113. Believers, give charitably from the good things which you have earned and what we produce for you from the earth, not worthless things which you yourselves would only reluctantly accept. Know that God is self-sufficient and praiseworthy. Satan threatens you with the prospect of poverty and commands you to do foul deeds. But God promises his forgiveness and his bounty. God is bountiful and all-knowing. Commentary by Maulana Wahidin Khan. There are two ways of spending one's earnings in this world. One is to spend in ways shown by Satan. Another is to spend in ways shown by God. What Satan does is to impress on the minds of human beings the importance of personal requirements and bring about conviction that all their earnings are best spent on personal comforts and luxuries. When Satan sees that any individual has more wealth than is necessary for his personal needs, he kindles in him another desire, that of indulging in showy activities. At the instigation of Satan, man spends all his money on ostentatious living and feels happy that he has spent his money in the best possible way. What is desired of man is that he should not regard his wealth as his personal possession, but rather as something that belongs only to God. He should spend as much of his wealth as is necessary for his actual needs, and the rest he should spend on achieving higher goals. He should give this surplus wealth to the weaker of God's servants, and also spend for the cause of God's religion. When he spends for the weaker section of society, he hopes that in the hereafter, when he appears empty-handed before God, he will not be deprived of God's blessings. Similarly, when he spends his wealth for the cause of God's religion, he allies himself with God's mission. Chapter 2, The Heifer, page 114. He grants wisdom to whom he will, and whoever is granted wisdom has indeed been granted abundant wealth. Yet none bear this in mind except those endowed with understanding. Whatever you spend and whatever vows you make are known to God, but the wrongdoers shall have no helpers. If you give charity openly, it is good, but if you keep it secret and give to the needy in private, that is better for you, and it will atone for some of your bad deeds. God is aware of all that you do. It is not your responsibility to make them follow the right path. God guides whomever he pleases. Whatever wealth you spend is to your own benefit, provided that you spend only to seek the favor of God. Whatever wealth you spend for God's cause shall be repaid to you in full, and you shall not be wronged. Commentary by Maulana Wahiduddin Khan. One who spends his money for the sake of God in the way that he has commanded him to do proves that he has been blessed with wisdom. Wisdom here means knowledge and understanding of the Quran. The biggest folly is to be so enamored of one's wealth that one fails to spend for the cause of God, and the greatest wisdom lies in recognizing that monetary interests do not present any obstacle to one's engaging oneself in God's work. One should consider God's cause as one's own. One who lives within the cocoon of personal interests and considerations cannot possess the insight which would enable him to see higher realities and experience higher states of consciousness. On the contrary, one who goes ahead towards God by ignoring all personal considerations raises himself above all limitations. His consciousness reaches the divine level of God, who is independent, free from all wants, praiseworthy, all-sufficient, and wise. Man is thus enabled to see things as they are, for he goes beyond the limitations which serve as obstacles to seeing things in their true form. However true any argument may be, its truth dawns upon one only when one can see it with an open mind. Chapter 2, The Heifer, page 115. The needy, who are too engrossed in God's cause to be able to travel about the land in search of a livelihood, are considered by those who are unaware of their condition to be free from want, because they refrain from begging. But they can be known from their appearance. They do not make insistent demands upon people. Whatever wealth you spend, God knows it. Those who spend their wealth night and day, both privately and publicly, will receive their reward from their Lord. They shall have no fear, nor shall they grieve. Commentary by Maulana Wahiduddin Khan. The greatest way to spend money for the cause of God is to extend monetary help to those of God's servants who have devoted themselves wholly to the cause of his religion, thus leaving themselves no time to earn for their personal needs. Just as a successful businessman has little free time for anything except his business, Similarly, one who serves the cause of religion full-time has no time to work to make money for himself. Furthermore, each job shapes in a particular way the thinking of the person involved. One who involves himself in business develops the relevant skills so that he is able to easily understand the complexities of commerce. But that same person will not be able to understand the nuances of religion's cause. Similarly, a religious worker will not be able to successfully run a business, for he cannot concentrate on business matters due to his attention being diverted elsewhere. However, a society needs both kinds of activities. The solution to this problem is for those who possess monetary resources to arrange a share for those who, because of their religious commitments, are unable to provide for their own economic needs. This is like a tacit division of labor, which takes place between the two groups purely in order to earn God's pleasure. The missionary, having devoted himself to God, does not ask anything from others, nor does he expect anything from them. On the other hand, those who are monetarily strong, knowing that they have amassed wealth through not devoting themselves to the cause of religion, which they should have done, think that they should, by way of compensation, give a share of their wealth to their brothers in faith. Spending for a peaceful religious struggle which brings no fame or laurels makes one all the more deserving of God's blessings. For such spending is only to seek God's pleasure. Chapter 2, the Heifer, page 116. Those who live on usury shall rise up before God like men whom Satan has demented by his touch, for they say, buying and selling is only a kind of usury. But God has made trade lawful and made usury unlawful. Therefore, he who desists because of the admonition that has come to him from his Lord may retain what he has received in the past, and it will be for God to judge him. Those who revert to it shall be the inmates of the fire. They shall abide therein forever. Commentary by Maulana Wahiduddin Khan. The word riba in the original is translated here as usury, which means the practice of lending money to people at unfairly high rates of interest. B. The injunction to give alms, zakat, symbolizes the economic relationship between God's servants. Almsgiving means recognizing one another's rights and going to the extent of giving a share in one's own income to one's fellow men. A religion which aims at creating a worthwhile social setup can never accept a money-loving society based on usury. In a well-ordered society, mutual exchanges take place according to the rules of business and not on the principle of usury. Business may be based on the principle of profit-making, but profit comes as a result of hard work and at the cost of taking risks. But profit coming from usury betokens selfishness and hoarding. One who deals in usury does so to increase his wealth without there being any risk of loss involved. The personality developed in this process is selfish and materially minded. A believer, on the contrary, does not make a profit out of others' needs. Rather, he shares his wealth with them. The personality developed in such a person is totally different from that of the usurer, for the believer is a well-wisher of his fellow men, and he rises above the sphere of his own interests. Chapter 2, the Heifer, page 117. God blights usury and blesses charitable deeds. God does not love the ungrateful wrongdoer. Those who believe, do good deeds, attend to their prayers, and engage in almsgiving shall be rewarded by their Lord and shall have no fear, nor shall they grieve. Commentary by Maulana Wahiduddin Khan. Man has not been sent into this world to hoard wealth. All the good things of this life are meant for the next world. Man has been sent into this world so that it may be judged whether or not he has developed those qualities that would qualify him to inherit the world of paradise in the hereafter. Those adjudged fit to dwell in paradise will be separated from the unfit, and the latter will be consigned to hell. Practicing charity, sadaqah, means giving one's wealth to the needy for the sake of God, while engaging in usury means giving one's wealth in order to exploit others. Sadaqah is an indication of the fact that man wants to see the massive array of God's blessings in the next world, whereas usury is indicative of the fact that he wants to amass fortunes in this world itself. The almsgiver and the usurer are two different types of individuals. It is not possible that they will both have the same fate in the hereafter. Only those find the world who have worked hard for it. Similarly, only those will find the hereafter who have sacrificed their wealth in order to receive God's blessings in the hereafter. Chapter 2, the Heifer, page 118. Believers, have fear of God and give up what is still due to you from usury if you are true believers. For if you do not do so, then know that you are at war with God and his messenger. But if you repent, you may retain your capital. Do not wrong others, and you will not be wronged. If the debtor is in straitened circumstances, then grant him respite till a time of ease. If you were to write it off as an act of charity, that would be better for you, if only you knew. The basic principle of the reformation of a society is for its members to treat each other with justice. There should be neither oppressor nor oppressed. Usury is a form of open economic oppression. That is why Islam has held it unlawful. Business based on the principle of usury, if engaged in under Islamic rule, is deemed to be a criminal offense. However, just as a usurer is not allowed to make anyone the target of his economic oppression, others should also refrain from subjecting him to their oppression. An offender in one field is not deprived of his rights in other fields. Any action taken against any usurer may consist only of withholding the interest due to him. His capital should be returned to him. While giving general commands, Islam makes full concessions to human weaknesses. That is why we have been commanded that if a debtor has fallen upon hard times, he must be granted respite till he is able to repay his debt. We have also been enjoined that if the debtor is insolvent, we should have the courage to write off his debt as charity. One who is forbearing shall deserve a reward from God. This is beneficial in this world too. An atmosphere of mutual compassion, sympathy, and well-wishing is produced, which is good for all members of society. Chapter 2, the Heifer, page 119. Fear the day when you shall be made to return to God, then every soul shall be paid in full what it has earned, and they shall not be wronged. Commentary by Maulana Wahidun Khan. However, the imposition of law alone is not a guarantee of social reforms. For a real reform, it is essential that the spirit of God-fearing taqwa prevails in society. That is why, while giving legal commands, the Quran places faith, taqwa, and the hereafter in the foreground. Even a secular system will run successfully only when its citizens possess the necessary national character. Similarly, the Islamic system is truly brought into being when a considerable number of its members possess the spirit of taqwa. National character, or taqwa, is, in fact, another name for the willingness of the individuals to uphold the desired system. If we do not find public acceptance of a system to a certain degree, it cannot be imposed by the power of law alone. Furthermore, according to Islam, what is actually most desirable is the reform of the individual. Society is not the target of reform according to Islam. The reform of society is only a byproduct. The Quran calls to faith, to taqwa, to genuine concern for the hereafter. This call is realized in the individual and not in a social system. That is why the actual addressee of the Quranic call is the individual. The reform of society is in actual fact a social manifestation of the reform of a number of individuals.